Welcome back. Today I plan to play a rated rapid game on chess.com. I don't think we need any further introduction than that, other than to say if you're new to my channel, I'm not a titled player or a chess coach. I'm just a random person trying to get better at chess. And one way that I gauge that is to play occasionally a rated rapid game here and see how well I'm doing. Obviously, there is a little bit of a distraction of me trying to record and talk at the same time, but I'm getting pretty used to it, and sometimes talking aloud helps me to figure out what I'm supposed to play. Let's just click play and go. You never know what you're going to get here. I don't know which colors I'm going to get. I got the white pieces. I'm going to play c4 to open this game and see what my opponent responds with. Okay, they have responded with the symmetrical variation of the English. And I think here I can just play g3 and then fianchetto my bishop. A lot of times my opponent plays one of the center pawns at this point. I've seen both e6 and d6 here. And I think I've seen e5 in this position. Okay, my opponent is going to continue mirroring me. Let's see if they fianchetto also. They did not. They put the knight out first. I'm going to go ahead. I don't know if I should play knight to f3, but I'm going to play e3 first and then maybe put the knight behind the pawn. Okay, they have lined up a bishop there. I think we're safe here to go ahead and castle. Looks like my opponent is prepared to castle as well. Still might get a center pawn if experience is any indicator here. I believe they're planning on playing the d5 pawn here in just a second. But I think if they do, I can just take it with my c pawn. So I'm going to go ahead and castle. Okay, they have as well. And now I think I can play d4. So I'm going to go ahead and play d4. I'm prepared to take if they take. And I'm usually okay in this situation. I've reached this position or pretty close to it several times. Okay, they did take. I have taken back. My knight and queen are guarding this pawn, so I'm not worried about that. What am I worried about? I need to get my dark squared bishop off the back rank. I'll probably also need to watch for this knight coming this way. Okay, they've pushed that knight back, which usually means they want to play f5. I don't think I'm worried about f5, and I don't know if I should match it with f4 or maybe develop the bishop over this way. But right now I'm going to prepare to get this bishop out over here and see if my opponent does indeed play f5 as they've indicated. Or they might have just been rerouting the knight over there someplace. I'm just not sure. We'll find out when they do it. They did reroute the knight. Okay, decent guess on my part then. Let's put this bishop here. Maybe they are planning on playing a pawn over this way. Trying to figure out what that knight's doing there. It looks like it's guarding one of those two squares, b5 or d5. Okay, it was d5, and I don't know if I should take or wait for them to take me or just push. Should I just push? I really don't know, but I do know that they now have two pieces attacking right here. Maybe I should try to put a knight in this way to defend that, but then they take here and I take back, and then they can always push my knight out. Oh no, they can take that knight right away. You know what? Let's just take the pawn. Can't do that because they have both the knight and the queen guarding that square. And as I said, they already have two attackers here, but I have two defenders on it, so I think I'm okay there. Should probably get this rook over, but no, but then they're going to develop their light squared bishop. What should I do? Should I start pushing these pawns? Or should I put another attacker over there? I don't know. Let's try that. I do know Stockfish is often telling me to put one of my knights over here someplace, and I think it's usually g5, but I don't think I can get to g5 right now, not very easily. Okay, I was expecting that to come out. The question is, should I take it? But they have added another defender to their d-pawn. Kind of thinking they want me to take it, and then that will open up their rook. I don't know, but you know what? I'm going to put a rook over here because very often the engine tells me to move a rook. I always pick the wrong one. At least we'll find out in the post-game analysis whether that was the correct rook to move. But I have added another attacker to that square, and got a rook on an open file here. My opponent seems to be playing a little bit like me, where they are playing what you might call conservatively. They're not throwing any attacks. Neither one of us has gotten a piece across the center line yet. Oh, I did just remove a defender from that pawn, didn't I? Well, my opponent is playing a little differently than me. They're paying more attention to stuff like that than I am. Well, good for them, you know? I guess let's take the bishop then. I assume they'll take back with the pawn, but you never know. They might take back with the knight. They took back with the knight, okay. And they are a pawn ahead, so good for them. And now they're ahead on time. For a little bit there, I was ahead on time, but that is not the case anymore. My bishop's not defended, so I have to be really careful where I move that knight. I guess let's go ahead and defend the bishop, and then I would like to attack here because now I have multiple attackers on that square, and they have removed the defender from it by taking here with the knight. Oh, they went ahead and took, so I cannot do that anymore. I have a feeling when I take back, they're going to push that pawn. What do you think? Are they going to push that pawn? Let's see. That's what I assumed they were going to do, and now that passed pawn is huge. So I guess I have to retract this bishop. I could do that, but I think that just helps them, gives them a defender for that passed pawn they have there. I'm thinking I might need to reroute this bishop around to get in front of that pawn, but I don't know exactly what I need to do about that. That is frustrating. And right now they have 3 defenders on it, so there's not much I can do about it. Well, I can stop it from moving temporarily by putting my queen here, with the idea being to try to reroute the queen someplace. Maybe get in here with it, not right now, but eventually. Especially if they eventually move that pawn and my bishop will be guarding over here. We'll see what they do. They might just attack it with a knight immediately, in which case I'll just, go where I was going to go, but then they'll be defending the next square for the passed pawn. So maybe putting my queen there was a mistake. Oh, they've lined up the queen with the bishop. I actually kind of like that. And like I said, I was about to go here anyway, but I don't want to now because I want them to move that pawn. You think I can convince them to move the pawn by just dropping back a little bit? They probably won't, but we'll see. But I am now guarding, possible knight movements here, staying in front of the pawn. Okay, now they want to push it. Maybe they should. Maybe they should. And I have no idea what to do. I'm going to push a pawn. Okay, they've gotten out of that line with the bishop. Very good for them. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and challenge their queen real quick here and maybe slide this in front of the pawn. They have backed up. Okay, then yeah, let's just slide that in front of the pawn. I'm pretty sure that has to be my primary objective here, is guarding that pawn or keeping that pawn from moving forward. Guess I can put this here and line up with the queen, but they're going to fork me. Wow, I always miss those. Yep, I've lost my queen, so I am done here. Or should I play it out? You know what? Let's play it out and see if they know how to checkmate me. I give them some checkmating practice. And they're attacking my rook, so let's move that over. They're going to get the bishop, so let's go ahead and pre-move that. And push a pawn. Remember, right now we are not expecting to win or even draw. We are just trying to give our opponent some checkmating practice, which they may or may not need very badly. Where are they going with that? I don't know, but let's keep pushing a pawn. The closer my pawns are down there, the more afraid my opponent may become at some point. They're going to line them up all behind here. I guess that's good. Why not put this right here, and then we can line up as well. Get more stuff lined up there. They have checked me. Good job. You could do it. Should I push the pawn? Let's do it. And they're going to push their pawn, and I'm going to move a bishop. No, they're going to take more of my pawns. All right. Well, I don't know what to do about that, so I'm going to bring this bishop over here and attack their rook. They have moved their rook. So, good job for them. That was a good move, I think. Let's bring it back, because I don't know what else to do. They have checked me. Well, you know what? Let's take it. They'll take that with the pawn, I assume, and then I'll take their other rook, and then they will get a queen. They did. I have checked them. They have to block with that queen they just got because they can't move the king. Hopefully, hopefully that will work out well for me. They have to block. That's the only legal move, I'm pretty sure. Or maybe they were really surprised by that, so it's taking them a little while to figure out that that's their only legal move now. They resigned. Well, that did work out well. I'm sure glad I didn't resign when I really, really wanted to. And I broke 1,300 because I haven't played one of these in a few weeks, so I got 21 points for that. And I'm over 1,300 once again because I had a mate in one because they had to block and I would take it. All right, well, I do have a game review today, or I should, because I haven't used one yet today, so I am going to run the game review just to see where I went behind. Clearly, I went behind at some point, and then my opponent blundered in my favor right near the end. On the graph, you can see there's a huge white cliff there that, they were ahead as much as -2 there at the end, and then blundered away a mate into. I had 3 misses and 3 mistakes. Yeah, it looks like we were fairly even through here, and then I was almost down -1 before that mistake that put me behind, but my opponent didn't take advantage of it, and then I made a huge, downshift there. And apparently I missed a couple of things here in the middle. Just out of curiosity, what does the ratings estimator say? Oh, my opponent played like a 1550. It sure felt like it. It sure felt like I was, until right at the end, felt like I was playing somebody much better than me. I was thinking more like 1,800. I did check their profile during the game. Their ratings in almost all categories are very similar to mine, so this is probably not an 1,800, but they played a really good game here until that they got a little overconfident and promoted without checking. And promoted without checking to see if their king was safe. Their king wasn't safe, fortunately for me. Okay, I'm just going to go right here. Looks like my opponent made a mistake on the next move. Can we switch over to this, turn off this feedback, and turn off the lines? Okay, my opponent's mistake was knight to e8. I didn't know it at the time because it's not always a mistake to move your pieces backwards. And in this case, I thought a lot of opponents move that knight out of the way to get the f pawn going. And in my opponent's case, they were bringing it over here for reasons unknown to me, but they had a plan, I guess. Or maybe they weren't sure what to do and they were just going to move the knight around. But I had to play something here and it wasn't b3. I didn't see any danger coming here, but maybe I should have. Maybe before playing b3, I should have played d5, taken, I would have taken, and then they had to move this knight someplace. I don't know where they would have moved it. They could have just put it over here. Maybe that's what it was, though. I really don't know. Or maybe I needed to develop the bishop now. I'm going to guess one of those two things, either d5 or bishop to e3. What does the computer say? It does say d5, and it says they would not do the trade. It says if I played that, they would just put the knight over here, and then I would play b3. Oh, and I would have connect 4. But I had to start with the top, not at the bottom. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure they would take. How bad would it be if they... Well, it's one of their absolute best moves if they take. Okay, if they take and then I took back, then they would play knight to e5. It says, I don't know, they might put it over there on b4. But then I need to play d6. Oh, I just go ahead and push it once more. That's my lead. Okay. That's where the +1 comes from, is the fact that I was going to be able to get this pawn all the way over there. And now they can't get this bishop out this way. Not that they would want to. And they can't fianchetto it this way just yet because of where my bishop is. So it says they would need to move their rook over first and then push that and then get the bishop out this way. Yeah, that's what that entire first line is all about, is getting the bishop back this way. Okay. Well, that's a pretty advanced blunder in my opinion. So I don't feel bad about that. But after I played this and my opponent had another miss by doing this, d5 I had to play again, I'm guessing for similar reasons, although now they have more defenders on that square. But I would have 3 hitting that square. So yeah, I had to play d5 again, and again that says they would not take it. But once you actually put the move on the board, it is their best move to take it. So the line... This is really frustrating. I don't know who, has a hand in developing Stockfish. It probably says on their website, but I would sure like to see this part here get a little better. Because when you back up to where I had my miss, it's convinced that if I play d5, they're going to move the knight. But if you actually put d5 on the board, it thinks about it and says, no, it's actually best for them to take the pawn. I've gone back and forth several times here, and every time it says they should take the pawn. But every time you back up, it says, and sometimes it says here they'll take the pawn, but then it always switches back. Oh, no, this is the first time. Okay, now it does say that if I move forward, they'll take it. But I'll still be ahead. Okay, so they will take, then I will take, and then they'll play knight to e5, but they also might play knight to a5 or knight to b8. But knight to e5 is best. Okay, so when they play that, I'm going to push this forward, and then they're going to have to put that knight back on e8 or e6, and then I'm going to move this rook over, and I'm just up +2. If you know more about chess than I do, or at least know more about this part than I do, please help me out here. Is this pawn the reason that I'm up +2? Because it's guarding both of those squares and it's keeping that pawn from moving? Because we're even on material here. I'm not, as far as I can tell, threatening another piece. All I'm doing is restricting their movements just a little bit. And I certainly wouldn't be able to calculate that far in a 10-minute game, but is that what the idea is here, that no matter what happens, I'm going to get a pawn up on d6, and that's enough of a thing to make me ahead? If you understand that, let me know, because I do not understand it. Okay, I developed that bishop, which says now that we're even, but we're still even, and we're even for several more turns here until about here. Okay, now my opponent is actually up a pawn here. They have a passed pawn because I don't have any pawns on any of these 3 files, so there's nothing stopping their d-pawn from going. But I'm still even as long as I play rook to c1 or queen to d2 or h4. Well, I looked around for a little bit and can't find any reason to play any of those moves. So, yep, that's also frustrating. Help me out. This is not an elementary blunder or mistake here. It counted as a mistake, but I'm down -1 now. They should have taken back with the pawn because this put us back very close to even. My best move was queen to e2 or queen to c2 or queen to d2. Okay, well, all of those have something in common, and that's the number 2. I'm supposed to put my queen up on the 2nd rank, according to Stockfish's recommendations here. 2 of those places here also guard the knight, and all 3 of them guard the bishop, and all 3 of them guard this pawn, and all 3 of those moves, connect my rooks, because my rooks want to see each other. Okay, but which of those things that I just said is the reason to go up there, or is it some combination of them? And if so, why is e2 one of the things listed? Because that doesn't guard the knight. These 2 do all the things that I said. e2, which is the 2nd best one, Does all those things except guard the knight. Yeah, so help me out with this one too. Rook b1 was not counted as a mistake or even an inaccuracy, but I did drop a few percentage points here to 0.5, minus 0.5. But only if they put their queen out here. They didn't. They went ahead and took there, which allowed me to take back. So we're back into 0.2 area, minus 0.2. Their best move was d4 by far. It was the only move that kept their very slim advantage, and I should have brought the bishop back in front of the pawn, not getting further out of the way of it. And again, they had to go queen to f6, but they didn't. They moved that rook over one spot, so we're at minus 0.2 again. I needed to play queen to f3. Is it because I'm expecting them to bring their queen over here? Is that what it is? It kept saying for them to play queen to f6. And now it's saying for me to play queen to f3. But I guess, is that to keep them from going there? Otherwise, why am I putting it there? I don't know. But I did want to stop the pawn, so I did that, but that wasn't horrible. They did play queen to f6, so good job for my opponent for guessing that's where they should have put that. I thought that wasn't good because of where my bishop is, but it was. It was great. Okay. Rook b to c1. Well, that's what the engine says I have to play now. Well, the reason I put it on b1 was because my bishop was undefended. But c1 isn't the important thing, because it can also go to d1. The important thing is to unguard my bishop, apparently. Help me out. Again, Stockfish is not being very helpful. I played queen to d2, which was not even counted as inaccurate, but now we're down to 0.5 again. Their best move was to put a rook behind the pawn, and my best move now is rook b to c1, or h4, or rook b to d1. Again, apparently the important thing is to undefend this bishop, or not sure why h4 is great here. a3 was not great. Now it's 0.7 or 0.8 in my opponent's favor. So again, no inaccuracies, no mistakes, but it's almost -1, but only if they come up one. And they did, so good job for them for figuring out that that's what they had to do. Yeah, I feel kind of silly for earlier in the game saying that my opponent was playing a lot like me, but up to that point they had been. They were trying to develop their pieces, get their king to safety, and put their pieces in pawns in good squares, and that's what they did. But here they were playing much better than I've ever played, because I never would have guessed that that was my best move. And here I never would have guessed that this was my best move. Now the rook over there behind the pawn, I might have guessed that. I don't know, I might have put the other one there, but this and this, that's beyond my level, I will say that. That's a level of thinking that I have not yet achieved in chess, and I had to play b4 now, but instead I put my bishop there. That's a mistake that put us at almost -2, but only if they ignore this threat and play knight to g5. And if they had played knight to g5, it says I would not have taken their queen. I can guarantee you if they played knight to g5, I would have taken their queen. But it says that would have been bad, and then they would have checked me here, which they eventually did anyway, but this way I got their queen. So if they were not going to put the knight on g5 to ignore this threat, trading one threat for the other, I guess, then they needed to put their queen on h5 or b5. Maybe because this pawn's undefended. But instead they just put the queen back, but they're still ahead by a significant margin. Okay, now I needed to play bishop to g2, which I did think about. I did think about pulling bishop to g2 or getting the queen back to where it was. It did not like my queen being up here. Even though earlier it said putting the queen on these 3 squares was absolutely best. Now my best move is to not put the queen up there. Well, I could have saved a lot of trouble by not putting it up there then. Okay, or bringing the bishop back, which makes sense, or bishop to h1 even. That was really important, but this was bad. Really bad because of knight to g5, because I'm not defending that anymore. So I need to defend it by playing queen to e2 or king to f1. Wait, if I play king to f1, they're still going to fork me, but then I don't lose my queen. If I play queen to e2, they're still going to fork me, right? Nope. Wait, what? If I play queen to d1, they are going to fork me. But if I play queen to e2, they're not, according to these lines. But because the computer is seeing that fork and I'm not, I just did something silly and they forked me. So where I went behind, wait, where was it? It's where I'm ahead here. Where did I go behind? It was here. This is where I went behind, where I took the bishop, because I had to do one of those other moves that the arrows are still on the board for, that I don't understand. And I'm pretty sure, if I remember this analysis right, that I never was ahead or even again after this, although we got close to even a couple of times. I don't understand the second rank thing. Did we get, we're fairly close to even here as long as I take the bishop, and I did, so we're okay. So this, not really behind here. We're between +1 and -1. We're between, 0.5 and -0.5 for that matter. And they played their best move. Okay, they're getting close to minus 0.5. Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out where I went behind because it wasn't a mistake or a blunder that put me behind. It was just these slightly less than optimal moves. Now we're nearly at -1. Okay, it was this, pretty sure. Because if I hadn't played that, if I had guessed that I should put a rook over on d1 or put the queen on d1 or play b4, no, it was before that. Okay, it was here. This was the last place that I was closer to even than 0.5. Rook b to c1, rook b to d1, or a3. All right, well, I don't understand that either. That's really frustrating. And as good as my opponent played, they should have won this game. Except for here, because here, they're ahead, -38, according to Stockfish, but my bishop is cutting off these very important squares here, and I have a mate in one, but it's their turn. So, if you were playing with the black pieces here, what would you play? The engine says they should promote to a knight, which is a check, okay? And then of course their queen is able to come in, and also their queen will be defending here. So if I go to h1, then they put their queen there, and I think that's mate. But it says I would go to g1 after they promote it to a knight, and then they would take this pawn with check, and then I would have to go to f2, where they could check me here, and I would take the knight, but then they could check me and take my rook. But yeah, they had to promote to a knight to maintain that advantage. They also could have just played f6. Or knight to c6, which would have defended the square I was going to check on here. But promoting to a queen was really bad, and I figured, I thought that it was. I thought I had a mate, but I had already, completely defeated myself in this game, and I didn't want to seem really overconfident. So I know at that point in the game I wasn't talking very confidently here, but I was pretty sure that they had to block with the queen because I saw my bishop guarding those squares. Well, I'm happy about going over 1300, but I'm not happy about how I don't understand any of these mistakes or blunders. If you do, let me know. Thank you for spending your time here. I'll see you next time.